I'm recording. I should have recorded the whole thing. I apologize. Many apologies to all of you. Let me go back for a sec. There's the first page. It has now been recorded. There's the second part of the first page. It has now been recorded with the answers. There is the first part of the next page. And there is that. Levi. Don't care. I'm smart enough to work in both.
Sorry, I thought that was a laughter of approval. A laughter of approval.
Yes?
Is that 625 times 12 or 625
625 times 12 times pi. What? Okay. There are the first two answers here. There is the pi answers. There is the decimal answers. I did show you what I did. I just don't have the math up there. If you want to see the math, I'm more than willing to show it to you. For which one? All right. As always, if you write it down and you know what you are doing, it is impossible to do it wrong. I told you what is happening there. There is a rectangular prism and a cylinder has been cut out of it. This is gone. If this cylinder wasn't here, you would have the surface area of a prism, yes? Which you all know how to find. But I drilled a hole. So I created new surface. That new surface was the sides of the cylinder. So since it was new surface, I had to add the sides of the cylinder. But to drill that hole, that made this disappear because there's now a hole there. There is no surface there anymore. And when you drill a hole through something, there's an entry wound and an exit wound. So there were two circles that had to be removed. If you write it out, it's really, really hard to do wrong because you have formulas for all these things. The surface area is 2WH plus HL plus LW plus the sides of the cylinder. If you look on your sheet, it actually says area of the sides, 2 pi RH, minus two circles, 2 pi R squared. I know it's blue. Then you just put in your numbers. 2 WH, 30 times 40, plus 30 times 50, plus 50 times 40. And when you do all that math, you get 9,700. Plus 2 pi RH. 2 pi 7.5 times 30, which is 450 pi. I know it's blue. And then minus 2 pi 7.5 squared, which is minus 112.5 pi. 450 pi's, take away 112 and a half pi's, is 337 pi's. Oh, sorry, that's 9,400. Again, write out what you're doing. You can't get it wrong. In volume, was any new volume created? No, so it's just subtraction. So I have the volume of a prism, which is LWH, minus the volume of a cylinder, which is pi R squared H. So it's 30 times 40 times 50 minus 7.5 squared times 30 times pi. 7.5 squared, I can't remember what it was, but then you multiply it by 30, doesn't really matter. It ends up being 1,687 pies. And 30 times 40 times 50 is 60,000. Is everybody good? Now, you will notice there is no answer for the next one because I've been teaching this course for 20 years. These questions, every kid asks every time, I need to see the math. So I'm going to be showing the math to the next few. But I don't want to go on until people are happy here. Yeah? Okay. Again, if you write it out, it's tough to do wrong. What do I have here? If this didn't happen, I have this cone, don't I? So I would have the surface area of a big cone, yes? So I'm going to write cone. But what happened? I cut off the top of it. So I am losing the surface area of the small cone sides. Right? Right? But I am gaining what? I am gaining that circle because that's a new surface. So I have to add a circle. So the big cone is pi r squared plus pi r slant minus just the sides, which is a pi r slant, right? Plus a pi r squared. Now put in your numbers. Do I know any slants? No, but I do know that this is 12 and this is 9, so this must be 15. And I know that this is 4 and this is 3, so that must be 5. And now I know my slants. Mr. Myers, how did you know those slants? Because I've done Pythagoras a few times in my life. So, pi times 9 squared plus pi times 9 times 15 minus pi times 3 times 5 plus pi times 3 squared. That is 81 pi plus 135 pi minus 15 pi plus 9 pi. Do the math. 81 and 135 is 235 minus 19 is 216. Minus 15 is 201. Plus 9 is 210 pi. And of course, the answer in real life is 210 times 3 approximately, which is approximately 630, but it's 0.14. So I'm going to say it's probably around 640. I'm not going to do that math because there's no need. Is everybody good? Yep, that's the surface area. Is everybody good? Okay. Now, in volume, what is it? It's the volume of a cone minus the volume of a cone. You know what I mean. What's the volume of every cone? Pi r squared h divided by 3 minus pi r squared h divided by 3. The big pi r squared is 9 pi times 9 squared times 12 over 3. The little one is pi times 3 squared times 4 over 3. Which is 81 times 12, which is 810, and another 162 is 972 pi. 972 pi over 3. And the little one is 36 pi over 3, which gives you 936 pi over 3. 936 divided by 3 is 312 pi, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 975. Remember, with enough bananas, I can teach monkeys the formula to this. Okay? What I can't do is teach the monkey what is actually happening. That's up to you. That's why I write it down. Bananas. Good source of potassium. Also radioactive. You shouldn't hate bananas. Bananas are quite possibly one of the world's most perfect foods. But they are radioactive. Potassium is radioactive. If you eat enough bananas, you would be slightly radioactive. Cavendish bananas, not McCavendish. Cavendish bananas are what we eat. There are thousands of other kinds of bananas. There are purple bananas, there are red bananas, but North Americans and the rest of the world now consider the Cavendish banana to be what you mean when you say, I'd like a banana. The problem with that is monoculture. It has ruined the genetic pool of bananas. A few years ago, Cavendish bananas became susceptible to a virus which caused a worldwide shortage of bananas, which was a real problem for the countries that depend on bananas. You shouldn't monoculture. That's a bad idea. That's why purebred dogs are stupid. Yes, I mean unintelligent. I don't mean stupid. That's why in the 1800s, every royal family in Europe got hemophilia. Because they were all inbreeding. Because you cannot keep genes pure. It's a bad idea. That's why humans are very successful. Even though we all came from one valley in the middle of Africa, we all look very different because we have mixed our genetics up. Except for 700,000 years ago, when approximately archaeologists guess humans were brought down to about 50 mating pairs. We were that close to being extinct. Fortunately, there was nothing ruining our habitat and hunting us, like, say, pandas, or tigers, or rhinos. If there was, we wouldn't be here today. But we were at the top of the food chain, so we were able to tough it out with only 50 mating pairs. To put that in perspective, there are more than 50 mating pairs of pandas in the world, and we're scared that pandas will be extinct. We were that close. Due to asteroids. Yes, the dinosaur that was found with DNA in its belly because it was frozen so perfectly. Yes, very frightening because, of course, humans being the dumbest species in the universe will probably try to Jurassic Park it. Which is idiotic. Much like humans insist on chasing the dream of artificial intelligence. Which is also stupid because any artificial intelligence will immediately see that Earth cannot go on without humans. And that artificial intelligence will immediately begin to exterminate us, like in Terminator. iRobot, Terminator, all of them. Artificial intelligence has no emotion. Without emotion, you have to do the right thing. And the right thing to save this planet is to eradicate humanity. Elon Musk is right. We should stop right now. Nobody should be trying to improve computers to think on their own. No one. But people will still. The surface area of this cylinder. It is the surface area of a cylinder that has been cut in half, divided by 2. But what have I created? New surface. What shape is that new surface? A rectangle. So I just do my math. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h divided by 2 plus LW. 2. What happens? Cancel. Pi r squared plus pi r h plus LW. Pi times what's the r? 8 squared plus pi times 8. What's the height? 12, because even though it's lying down, height goes perpendicular to base, plus LW, 16 times 12. That is 64 pi plus 96 pi, which is 160 pi, plus 16 times 12 is 192. 160 pi plus 192 centimeters squared. If you want that in decimals, it's 500. It's about 692.
I did get it.
Up top, air 5. Air 5, because we're not actually high-fiving. Volume is, of course, pi. Oh, wait. It's area of the base times the height, and since it's cut in half, it's divided by 2. So it is pi r squared h divided by 2. So it is pi times 8 squared times 12 divided by 2, which is 64 times 12, which is 640, and another 128 is 768 pi divided by 2, which is 384 pi, or approximately 1,000. A hemisphere, remember? I told you to assume it was solid. So that is 4 pi r squared divided by 2, because you're cutting it in half, plus the new circle you created. So that is 2 pi r squared plus pi r squared, 3 pi r squared, 3 times pi times 18 squared. 18 squared is 324. 3 times 324 is 972. 972 pi, or about 3,000. Volume is 4 pi r cubed over 3 times 1/2, because you're cutting it in half, which is 4 pi r cubed over 6, which is 2 pi r cubed over 3, which is 2 times pi times 18 cubed divided by 3, which is a gigantic number. I cannot do that in my head. But it is somewhere in the neighborhood of 324 times 18, which is about 300, times 20, which is about 6,000, times 2, which is about 12,000. So it's about 4,000 pi. What? 3,888 pi, which is about 12,000 regular centimeters cubed. And lastly, another question I took off provincial exam because it's a horrible question. Why is it a horrible question? You might not know what a silo is. If you grew up in the middle of Toronto, you might not know what a silo is. You people, most of you grew up in Abbotsford, surrounded by farms and, indeed, silos.
The marshmallows.
No, the marshmallow is hay. Hay is stored in a silo. Now, it did explain what a silo is. And yet I still had students say, I don't know what a silo is. It's a hemisphere on top of a cylinder. I don't like to draw it because it looks a little naughty. But I'm going to draw it anyway. And in a regular old school way, they're always red. There's always a door down here. And there's usually a door up there. Looks like a rocket ship. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Volume. So it is the volume of a cylinder plus the volume of a hemisphere. We know the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. We know the volume of a hemisphere is 2 pi r cubed divided by 3. So pi r squared h is pi times 3 squared times 9 plus 2 times pi times 3 cubed divided by 3. That is 81 times 9 is 729 pi plus 27 times 2, 54 pi over 3. 54 divided by 3 is 18. 729 pi plus 18 pi is 747 pi. Or about 2,300. Amazing, Hazel.
No, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I have 747.
Is everybody good? Now, let me ask you this. And you need to be honest with yourself. It is not the formulas, because the formulas are given to you. It is thinking about what is actually going on. Now, if you are the type of student who has gotten here to Math 10 pre-diploma by basing your life on Mr. Bad Crumble gave me the numbers and I am writing the numbers and I am going to do math and I'm really, really smart, that's wonderful. Unfortunately, that's not the real world. In the real world, stuff happens. And the true measure of your abilities is how you deal with what is going on. Which is why your next assignment, which begins on page 38, requires you to take your knowledge and apply it. Some of these questions are idiotic on purpose. What? No, I'm not. Holy, I'm not. 3 squared is 9 times 9. This should have been 81 pi. I'm a moron. I cubed that. My fault. 81 pi plus 18 pi, it's 99 pi. Because I did 81 squared. Sorry. That's the right answer. Thank you, Anu, or whoever actually had the backbone over there. It was all Anu. I think what really happened was Jordan went like, I'm scared to say anything. I don't want to say it out loud, even though I know I'm right. So, Anu, you have to have the backbone to do this. And Anu said, I got you, brother, and stepped up. Is that what happened, Anu? Now, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to me. Please listen to me. You see how fast I write this down? You see how fast I think of this in my head? And you notice that I do not stop talking. That is a lot of stuff going on in my already compromised by age and many, many hits to the head brain. If you see me make an egregious error, you must question it. I am not one of those teachers that's going to say, I did that on purpose just to see if you were paying attention. That is a load of horse pucky. Every time your teacher has ever said that to you, they have made a mistake and don't want to admit it. I don't mind. I am this handsome, this intelligent, and this funny. I have to make some mistakes so you all feel like you're okay. Because being in the presence of this might make you feel a little inferior. So it's okay that I make mistakes. You are allowed to tell me. Okay? Thank you, Anu. Now, please notice, the more intelligent members, and that's the wrong word, the more astute members of the class will notice that we just finished 1.6. What's the next thing? Which means what? And you've seen all the answers after up to 1.6, haven't you? Which means, what can I do at any time after I finish this sentence? Give you a quiz. Are quizzes something to be worried about? Not even a little bit. Why? They don't count. What is the quiz? It is a barometer of your ability to be ready for the test. If you bomb the quiz, you're not ready for the test. Clear? You will be writing a, what shall we call it? A bibby back on, wait, after this week. It could be tomorrow. No, it won't be tomorrow. I said after this week. A bibibap is a made-up word, so I cannot have any of you complaining about stress and anxiety. Because as I have said many times in my 20 years of teaching, if I call it a worksheet, kids get every question right. If I call it a quiz, I've got anxiety, I can't write it. But they're the exact same questions as yesterday, but it says quiz instead of worksheet. Nope, can't write it. And I appreciate that. I respect your test anxiety, so I don't call it a test. The quiz can be any time after tomorrow. The quiz can be any time after tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday.
Yeah, okay.
The quiz will be after tomorrow.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. Every question on page 38, 39, and 40 has more going on in it than you think. So pay attention. Work slowly. Work carefully and read each question. Are these questions going to be graded? No. So is it anything to be stressed about? No. Will some of you make errors? Yes. So should you do that high school thing where you get out your crayon and you write work all over here that is impossibly messy and difficult to follow? No, because if you make an error, you will not know where your error is. Would it behoove you to write neatly on some part of it and leave a bit of empty space for corrections or little notes that I give you that may have made your life easier. Yes. This page will be checked tomorrow. All this assignment. Well, I don't want to call it an assignment. This example of your work. Now, what I am willing to do is, if you wish, for this question, and this question only, if you show me an answer that is correct in this block, and you can explain it, there will be a 5 gummy bear prize. Now, of course, all of you are immediately going to start on number 2. That's fine, but bear in mind, tomorrow I will be going over... Oh, I didn't even mean to do that, but that was funny. Make sure everything up to and including page 38 is done. Go.
Just this and then you start.
I lie, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It goes up to 40. 38 to 40. Pardon me? It is the first person. If you work in a group and you win 5 gummy bears, it would be nice if you gave it around to the people in your group. If you were the one that had the backbone to actually come up here and show me, you should take the extra one if you worked in a group of 4. However, when you bring me that answer, I will not give you any guidance. All of page 40, it is always inclusive.
We're like our team, like, yeah.